Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda. In the book of Joshua and chapter 9, we read about a group of people called the Gibeonites. And the Gibeonites were one of the tribes that was dwelling in the land of Canaan whenever the children of Israel took possession of it. And according to the conquest of the land, they were supposed to drive all the peoples out. So the Gibeonites, seeing what had happened at Jericho and everything else, they said, we can never win a battle against these Israelites because God is with them. And they won't make peace and they won't agree to live alongside us in the land. So we're going to have to use a bit of deception. And so what the Gibeonites did was they wore old dusty clothes and worn out shoes and traveled with, like you would at the end of a really long, hot, dusty journey. And they turn up there at the Israelite camp. They look like they've traveled a long way, even though they've actually only come from a few miles away. But they came looking like they'd traveled off from a far land. And they said to the Israelites, we've heard about you and we want to make a peace treaty with you. And the Israelites said, well, you don't live around here, do you? Because we're not going to make any peace treaties with anybody in the immediate vicinity. We've to drive them out of the land so we can take permanent possession of it and not be corrupted by their idolatry and the many different sinful practices they have. And the Gibeonites said, no, we've traveled from a long, long way away. And so the Israelites made a peace treaty with them and said, we promise we will not harm you, we will be your friends. And then afterwards they discovered the deception. But even though they had been deceived into entering into a treaty, they were still bound by the oath that they had sworn. And so they said, look, even though you fooled us, we're not going to go back on our word. We gave you our word and we're going to stick to that. And you can live here amongst us, and they had particular tasks that they had to do in the land, but they were able to live peaceably alongside the Israelites. However, in the next chapter, Joshua chapter 10, we read how 5 of the kings of the Amorites then attacked the Gibeonites. And the Gibeonites turn around to the Israelites and say, help, come on, you're in a peace treaty with us. We're getting attacked. Please come and defend us. Now, the Israelites would have been well within their rights to actually say to them, no way, Jose. Listen, you fooled us, you deceived us, and we're going to stick with our promise not to do any harm ourselves to you, but we're under no obligation to defend you if somebody else attacks you like has happened. But they didn't do that. They went and they defended the Gibeonites and they fought a war on behalf of the Gibeonites and defeated those 5 Amorite kings, all in order to fulfill a promise that they had made, even though they had been deceived into making the promise. Now, what does this have to teach us? Well, basically this. It tells us how important it is that we are people of our word. That whenever we make somebody a promise to do something, we should do it. Very often people get greatly hurt when we say we will do something and then don't follow through and don't fulfill it and do what we said. And you know what? I've struggled with this in my life because I want to help people. When I see people in trouble, I want to help them out. And so people come to me and say, can you do this and can you do that? I say, yeah, sure. And sometimes I end up having taken on more commitments than I can possibly fulfill, even if I were not to sleep and just work 24 hours a day. And then I have to go and I have to apologize to people for not doing what I said I would do or doing it in the set time. That's been a painful lesson for me because keeping our word is important. And I've had to learn to have more boundaries and to say no to people. But what I'm saying is this: keeping your word is so important that even when you've been deceived, it's still important that you keep your word and be a man or a woman of your word. You see, God is a God of his word, and he wants to be a people of our word. And we live in a society where people will break their word and people will make promises and break them. Politicians, political leaders, we see them doing it all the time. But as Christians, let's determine that we will be people of our word, just as the Israelites honored their promises to the Gibeonites. We should do our utmost, if it is possible at all, to keep the promises that we make and be people of our word. May God help us to do that today and as we move forward. And thank you once again for joining us for this Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda. And please join us next time. God bless you.